You apes want to live forever? Great film. If you know the name of the film that quote comes from, put it down in the comments. Today, welcome back to my channel, Monkey Wrench. I'm Kelly, the monkey with the wrench. Today we're working on this homelite piece of flotsam and jetsam. It's a big paperweight. I did a video on this about 3 months ago, I think, where I took the carburetor off of a different motor, actually. This little Honda paperweight over here. I took the carburetor off of this Honda and I put it on this homelite and made it run so that we could hook a garden hose up to it and see if the pump was any good. And if you haven't seen those videos, go back and watch them. They're pretty informative on how you can take certain parts from completely different machines and, you know, use them when you need to. And it made it run and we were able to test the pump. So since then I have bought a new, as Taryl would say, carburetor, yeah, and that just came in the mail along with a package of other parts that came, one being the carburetor for this stihl weed eater that I just posted the video on. By the way, my videos come out every Wednesday and Saturday at 8 a.m. So they are on a schedule. I already have the next 3 or 4 videos uploaded at all times. So they always come out Wednesday, Saturday, 8 a.m. So what I got here is a new carburetor. This is not OEM. This was 19 bucks, I think. And it comes with a little fuel shutoff, and there's your adjuster that goes on up here. I'll show you that as soon as I remember where it goes when I have 2 hands. But anyway, carburetor, gaskets, and because it wasn't it's originally off of something else, it's the right carburetor but it belongs to a different machine. It came with a bullshit little fuel, which I never use them anyway. They're garbage fuel lines. But anyway, since we're putting it on here, we have to take the motor out of the frame. The reason for that, if you haven't seen the last video, is because the carburetor comes from here, and because it slides off the bolts here, it actually hits this bar, and there's zero way to get it out. There's nothing you can do. You must remove it. Crap homelite design, but whatever. The good thing is there's only 4 bolts. There's 2 of them there, and there's 2 on the other side also. Let's see, right there and right there. So I'm going to pull those 4 bolts, give the motor a twist, pull it out of the frame, and get it up on the bench, and I'll show you what's going on. All right, on this carburetor, you have this little, this is basically your throttle. And underneath here, there's a space in there for a post to go in, and then you have this little knobby section that sticks out, and that goes right here. This is the post that this piece sets on. All right, so if you put it on there and nothing happens, it's fine. The little post section, in this case it's metal, there's a little slot right there in the top of the butterfly. So if you line that up and put it on there, now when you turn it, it actually opens that butterfly. And I think that's choke and run, because if I remember correctly, there is a linkage that goes in here. So that just sits on the top, nothing special. You can pull it off, you can put it on. It's just your choke and your run position on there. And of course, this is your fuel cutoff. That's built into the carburetor. That's where your fuel line goes on. Alright, now I already took the bolts out of the other side. In this particular case, the nut and the bolt are both 13 millimeter. 1, 2, 3, 4. I've already taken those 2 out. So box end, open end on the top, because you can't get the box part of the wrench or the closed part of the wrench on it. there's no room. So you go ahead and take your nut and bolt out and don't lose them. Because this is not a sandwiched pump and motor through the frame, it's all one unit. It's really easy to unbolt. And it's about to fall to its doom as soon as I get this last bolt out. Stand it back up, and there you go. See, it falls right out. And there's the bolt. Put those together. Stand this thing up. See if you're still in frame. And it's been a while, but if you twist it, it comes out. I can't remember. There, twist it. See if it'll slip out the back, Jack. Lift it up and twist it out. And now we're out of the frame, and I can carry it into the bench. So I'll meet you in there. Now, homelite, it's, if you're watching, and you never know, one of my videos hit 73,000 views this morning. This is a really crappy design to have to remove the entire motor just to get to an easy carburetor. But there's two posts here with nuts on, and your whole air filter assembly should come off out of the way. Now, if I remember correctly, we had an issue with the fuel line, and I was gonna replace that. Let's see if fuel's coming out. See if I need to. And we're not getting any fuel coming out of there, so I'm going to probably pull the fuel tank, check the line. It's pretty easy to come off. I think it has one bolt here, and there's a bolt over here on this side. Should only be 2 or 3 bolts, and the tank will just lift off. And we'll deal with that. And then just to show you, this is a metal slug that goes on. There's a gasket that goes on behind it. Then the slug. Then there should be gaskets that came with this that I have to find. There they are. In this little jobby here. And then there'll be a gasket that goes in there. And then our new carburetor goes on, and I'm not sure. Yeah, it should go this way. That should, if I put it in the right spot, just feed on like so. And the fuel line goes right to the top. Then there'll be a gasket. Then that goes on. And yeah, our little arm, that's what I want to know. That little arm that we put on. Goes something like that. We gotta pull that out so it feeds through the correct holes, and I'll show you why in a minute. And it basically goes on like that. So this is the little gray torque arm that I put on there, and it says start, run. So that would be run, that would be choke. Make sure that goes all the way over. This is our fuel cutoff here. It says open and closed. So make sure that those go through the proper slots, though the whole air filter assembly goes on the post as they're supposed to. I wanted to make sure those were going to line up. And then of course we have our stinkage, and that's this here. And it did not fit in the last one easily, but if you take that and feed it right into the top, then give this a twist, you will then be able to push that down, and it will then lock in place. You see how that works? So the only thing I want to do here off camera is I'm going to deal with this fuel line, make sure that everything's clean and clear, put a new line on it. I'm going to put the proper gaskets in place, bolt this up. It just has those 2 bolts right there that I took off. You don't need to see me do that. And then I'm going to bolt it back onto the frame, hook up a garden hose, put some fuel in it, and we're going to see if this thing will run. Okay, I just thought I'd show you real quick that the tank comes off via a nut that goes on this post, a nut that goes on this post, and right here in the front there's a bolt that comes out of there. That's what holds the tank on. And you can just pull the tank up and get to it, and the only thing that really should be holding it is the actual fuel line there, and the rebreather, or the air breather, looks like it's got a twisty tie holding it there. And then you just have to feed, vice grips on there, you just have to pull the fuel line out. It goes underneath of there, feeds through to go to your carburetor. So I should pull the whole thing off. Now I can replace the fuel line, and you can see the post there and there that the nut went on, and that's where the bolt went through. So I'm going to replace that, put that tank back on, hook the carburetor up, take it outside, and let's fire it up. Okay, the fuel tank has been bolted back on in place. The only thing that I did not do, the spark plug wire fits through right here under this hose. You'll see it, there's a little feed through, and then the rebreather for the fuel tank that goes on the back of the air cleaner, that was kind of cut and broken, so I'm going to replace that, but that's not real important. That's just a breather for the tank that attaches back here on your air filter housing. So no big deal there. This one also fits on the back of the housing. There's 2 of them. So the bottom one will be this that comes off of your valve cover, and then the top one will be your air rebreather. And basically all that does is it draws air through your air filter to keep it clean, to keep debris from going in here, because this has to breathe, and then this has to not create a vacuum so that the fuel stops flowing. So this has to breathe, and it just allows it to suck through the air filter instead of just sucking out of the air. Not that it's real dirty when you're using a power washer, but you know, that's just part of the design. And then of course I ran a new fuel line here, which I need to get a length on so I can cut it. I cleaned out the tank, ran the new line. The old line was just a little bit too short, and this just needs to stay up here, and then we just need to get a length so that I can cut this. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Okay, don't lose that. Make sure that's on when you go to put it all back together. Now basically what we have here is this has no gasket on it. I'm not really sure why there's not. Oh, here, that's because the gasket's here. So I'm going to start with just the manifold. You can see there's a flat end and a curved end, and if you look on here you can see the same thing. Okay, it's curved on one side and flat on the other, just like that gasket. So first I'm going to feed that on. And that's just a manifold gasket. And these gaskets are actually good. They're not the crappy little cotton ones that usually come with cheaper carburetors. These are actually laminated good gaskets. I'm surprised. Put your slug back on. Okay. And that's where your spark plug line goes through. That kind of holds that. And your fuel line, I used a little thicker fuel line, so mine won't go through there. but that's not a big deal. Now I'm going to take the next gasket and put it on, making sure that I put it on correctly. And then I'm going to put my metal slug back on. Making sure that that's on correctly and not hitting anything. Why is that? It must not be on correctly because I'm hitting something and it doesn't exactly look right. So that goes on better. And it actually is the correct, it matches the gasket as well. So that's where we're going to leave it. And we're going to put our last gasket on. See, that bothers me. That there's a top portion of this inside that matches that, because there's our mounting holes, that matches that. And on this one, you would think that that would have to match as well, but it just doesn't. So, okay. I really don't want to have to take this frickin' motor off the machine completely again because I put a gasket on incorrectly. But that is a breather right there that goes through. So that's what we're going to do. Then we're going to put this on. It just doesn't look 100% right. So when something doesn't look right, go with your, no, that's leaving a space. That's not good. You can't have air being sucked in behind it, so I can't put it on that way. There's only going to really be, that's not it. Okay. I'm half tempted to leave that slug out of there. Yeah, it's not going back against this manifold, this plastic sleeve here. It's not going back completely, so I think I'm going to leave it off. You'd think maybe they would send some directions with these, but they never do. They never do. You just kind of got to figure out the gaskets yourself. But see, that matches. I'm going to figure this out and look it up. I'll be back. Well, at the risk of putting this thing back together and having to take it back apart, I'm going to put it together the best way I know how. Our fuel line is out of the way. We have our gasket on in the back. We're going to push this slug plate up there. We're going to put the next gasket on. If I can. Oh, that's the wrong one. That's the one with the little hole on the top. Because what's important is not getting any air between the carburetor and the intake manifold. So the carburetor is going to go on now, and everything between the carburetor and the motor has to be tight so that it does not suck air in, because if it sucks air in there, it won't run right, because that's what your carburetor does. It gives you the proper mixture of air and fuel. So if you're sucking air in places you're not supposed to, then you're not going to be getting enough fuel. You're going to be choking it out, and it won't, or you're going to be giving it too much air and not enough fuel, and it won't run. So we have our gasket, our slug, our gasket, and I'm going to see, because I pulled the carburetor off of a different machine to test it on here, this may be something off of the other Honda motor that I left on there not paying attention. I don't know. So for the moment, we're going to put it together like this. Make sure that's in place where it's supposed to be. I'm going to put my fuel line on. It's supposed to be out across the top of that. Just like that. go through all this freaking trouble. Now, if I'm right now, and this part was something off of that other Honda, everything should fit now. And it should not give you this kind of problems like it's giving me. But I did this 3 months ago, and I don't have a clue. It's been so long. I don't have a clue. And it's not like I work on a lot of these machines. I'm going to put my spark plug back on there. I'm going to put that down there where it belongs. And what I want to make sure when that goes on is that we're tight there. So now I can put the air filter system set up back on it by feeding that through. I'm going to have to hook up these little lines, at least this one right here. Again, I'm not concerned right now about the one coming out the top. You know what? I'll go ahead and put it on. Let me pause you. Okay, I went ahead and grabbed some line to run from the top of the fuel tank back down to the top here on the air breather. This one's hooked back up where it's supposed to be. Spark plug lead is on and down where it's supposed to be. Haha, but I did not put the linkage on. That's okay. I'll take that back off. Push that up out of the way. And our linkage, again, just goes in the hole. Give it a twist so that it pushes down in place. Now, you got to put your spring on as well. And here's where I'm going to run into problems with this new fuel line. It's hitting the linkage. So I'm going to have to pull this back off, feed that underneath so it doesn't hit the linkage. Okay, I actually took my grinder right here and I ground the ears off that are supposed to hold my fuel line, because my fuel line was wider than the ears that held it. So now it's out of the way of the linkage. The linkage is on and it can move freely. Even when I push the carburetor back all the way, it can move freely without hitting the fuel line. That's on. The spark plug is back in that little holder. Now all that's left is to put the gasket on the outside. Sorry this is so long, but this is real life. This is how it happens. And you might be sitting here trying to figure this out and go, man, I wish somebody would have made a better video on this. I watch a lot of other people's videos, and if you have a channel like mine and you make videos, tell me down in the comments and I'll go check out your channel, because I'm constantly looking for ways to film better, content to make, and cool people to talk to. I'm now friends with a few channels, and I'm good with that. So I watch a lot of videos and they kind of explain stuff from a distance and they never show anything. And then when they get into some kind of trouble, they go, well, let me fix this and I'll be right back. And they don't show you anything. They don't show you how they fixed anything. They don't show you what they did. And I go, really? So you had a problem and you fixed it after 15 minutes of talking about it, but then you never shared how you fixed it with us. So what if we have the same problem? So that's why, even though I may whinge on a bit and talk a lot, I try to show everything that I can on how stuff works, even the problems. Because let's face it, you're not hanging out with me because of my sparkling personality and my sexy Morgan Freeman voice and my six-pack abs. You're hanging out with me because you're probably working on one of these machines right now and you're having a problem. What should have been a basic, quick thing to deal with is turning into a nightmare. And you said, well, you know what? Let me go on YouTube and see if anybody else has it. So for those of you that complain in the comments, thanks for watching the video. Appreciate it. Thanks for leaving a comment. It shows YouTube that there's interaction, which is a good thing. But that's why I make these videos. Now everything's on and tight. All of our lines are back on in place. This is our fuel breather. This is the one off of the valve cover here. Our spark plug is back in. Our levers work. This is our choke and run lever here, and that works just fine. Our fuel cutoff works just fine. I'm going to leave that in the closed position for now. And our stinkage works. At least it moves. It's a little bit tight, but I think it's supposed to be. And then here's our on-off button back here. So I should be able to bolt this back down to our frame, throw some fuel in it, put on a garden hose, and see what happens. I am sweating. It's like a damn oven today. You can hear my feet are squeaking in my shoes because it's so hot. It's 92 degrees, but the heat index says 105 because we have like 90% humidity. Up there, I don't know if you can see that, but we got lots of clouds rolling, and I'm hearing thunder in the distance. So I'm going inside. I'm going to sit in front of the air conditioning for a while, have a cold drink, and through the power of editing, when you in just a second, the motor will be back on the machine, and we're going to test it. There you go. By the power of Grayskull. Editing. Gotta love it. You guys don't have to wait and sweat and wait. I haven't done anything else to it except bolt it down. See if I can get some fuel in it. I don't have a funnel. I left it down south with my zero turn when I was working on it the other day. And I'm waiting on my new tires to come in the mail. The tires I have on my bike right now, they're not strong enough to use with an electric bike, so I don't use it unless I absolutely have to. So let's just get some fuel in here. Now this fuel has a little bit of oil in it because I had to mix up some two-stroke for the last video. And I'm not wasting it because I didn't have any more. So let's turn the fuel on. Give that a minute to fill up the carburetor. Put that on. I'm going to start it and let it run for just a second, about 30 seconds or so. Make sure it's running before I break out the garden hose. Let's just see if she'll fire up and run. That's on. Should be getting fuel. Don't tell me I have to take this off just so I can spray a little bit of something in there. Alright, let's give it a few more pulls. If the fuel is flowing the way it's supposed to, there we go. Now the choke is off. I turned the choke off immediately. That's the choke on. That's the choke off. It's kind of like a pump. So before we burn up the pump, let me hook up the garden hose. Let me find the hose and wand. Get this set up, and we'll see if she'll fire up. All right, I got the garden hose hooked up. I got the hose and wand hooked up. A little warm out. Make sure this is firing. We got nothing coming out just yet. The garden hose is on. It's always on. Hang on a minute. Well, I loaned this to my landlady a couple of months ago, the wand and hose, because she bought a pressure washer electric that didn't work, and apparently she messed up one of my tips. So the water is coming through when I squeeze the trigger, but it was not coming through the tip, so I just grabbed another tip. I got a few boxes of them. And now we got some water coming out. So let's start this bad boy up. See if the water will go through it. Choke. choke. That bothers me. I'm going to have to figure out why. It should be starting instantly. Fuel is open. Put half choke on it. I'll deal with that in a minute. Hey, look at that. The color codings on these tips, I don't know which ones are which and why and whatever, but it's actually got some power. Now that's some baked on, grown in mold and crap and dirt. Now I didn't take everything off, and you see I wrote my name. It didn't take everything off, but down here in Florida oftentimes you need to bleach. You wet it down, then you bleach it, and then it'll come off completely and the bleach will kill whatever's left. So I would say that's a successful test. It's not smoking. It's running like a top. It's running real good. The only thing I don't like about it is that it doesn't start on the first pull. That could be fuel delivery. In the bottom of the fuel tank, there's a filter that sticks up about 2 inches maybe. But that was almost a gallon of fuel, and that tank's only 1.5 gallons, maybe a 2-gallon tank. I would think it's getting enough fuel, but once it starts, you hear, I put it on half choke and it started that same pull. Maybe that's the issue. Let me try that again real quick just to see. Maybe it doesn't need the choke. Maybe it only needs half choke. Turn that back on. Let me pull it a couple times. No choke whatsoever. Now I'm going to put it on half choke. See, I'm not sure why it won't just start right up. I'm not sure. But if that's the only problem with it, I think I can live with that. 4 or 5 pulls, we'll see. I'm going to test it over the next couple of days. And I don't know whether I'm going to put it up for sale or whether I'm going to keep it. I really don't have much need for a pressure washer. I don't use them that often. But anyway, if you stayed this long, I appreciate it very much. We have over 1,600 subscribers, and it's only been a month since we were at 900. So I must be doing something right. 700 subscribers in a month, less than a month. Yeah, I think when I looked at analytics, I was up like 680 subscribers in the last 28 days. So thank you so much for all of that. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions about this machine or any other machine, feel free to leave a comment down below. Check out my memberships. I don't have a lot of things on memberships yet, but I've already done a specific members only video for a member who had a machine. She was having trouble, she couldn't figure it out. I spent hours with her, emailing, talking to her, walked her through every single part, made her a special video because I happen to have that machine, on where to look for everything, how to do it, and it was just for her, and she's a member. So I do members only posts. I help individuals fix their own machines. I do a lot of stuff behind the scenes you just don't know about. So check out channel memberships right now. It's only $5 a month to support me. Please hit the like button. It's somewhere between my chin and my balls. Subscribe on the way out the door if you haven't. Believe it or not, it's free, and it helps channels immensely. Most views come from non-subscribers, and if they would come more from subscribers than non, I would be getting more views. That's how it works. Anyway, enough about all that crap. Thanks for watching. See you soon.